Hello and welcome to this video. I'm so excited to get onto this video. It was a lot of work, but I'm so happy with the final results and I hope that you like them too. So if you have read the title or seen the thumbnail, then you'll know that what I'm talking about. I'm making some devil fruits. Before we get on to that, I just thought I just wanted to say that my name is Jade and I do all kinds of different art type things, and I hope that you like, comment and subscribe to my channel to see more of my art, which most of the time has a sprinkle of anime into it. Now onto this video. So as I said, I'm making some devil fruits. Now if you have followed me on TikTok or Instagram, you will know that I did ask what type of devil fruits I should start to make first. I'm making them in groups, but I will be splitting I'll be splitting each one into their own video. Now this video is on the GumGum fruit. I thought I'd have to start with the main character, which is Monkey D Luffy's fruit. So like I said before, I had to make 4 in total. But please feel free to comment what other fruits you would like to see next, and I'll get onto it. And it was so great. Now, if you want to make this yourself, I will put in the description what I've used, and you'll also see on the screen at various points what I've used. However, if you don't want to make this for yourself, I actually sell these on my website and over on Patreon, and there's also some stickers and anime paintings there. But you don't have to do that, obviously. You can just watch this for your own entertainment. That's fine. Now, if you do want to go down that route, just click on the link below and it'll take you to my link tree, which will take you to all my social medias and stuff like that. And you'll find my link, my Patreon, website, and Instagram, everything there. Also in that the Patreon, in the link tree list, there is a product list, and there I will place all of the products that I use in all of my videos, and it'll actually have a folder that says like devil fruits, and that'll have all of the main products in there. Now I'm saying main products because products like plain flour and stuff you can actually find in the cupboard, or acrylic paints you can use what you've already have, but there's other stuff like that you might not have in your art cupboard, such as like Daz clay, and also like thin wire and stuff that I found to make the structure. Because I remember growing up watching like things like Art Attack, and it'd be like, oh well, here, get this that's already in your house, and it's stuff that's like not in your house at all. You're gonna have to go out and buy it and try and find it. And I just remember, and I'm like, when did that become a household object? I can't even think of the things, because it was always so out there, and I just remember growing up thinking how you know what, I'll just make do with what I've got at home now. I cannot use that. Uh, anyway, that was like a really big sidetrack. But also the stuff that I use, I will try and get the cheapest, or at least the ones that I think are for good product. Now if it is on the pricey side, there's probably a reason for that. I'm not saying buy what I tell you on and everything like that. I'm just saying that I don't like to spend my money on things that don't need it being there. But yeah, and you know what? Let's just get on to this. So first off, to do this, you're gonna make the basic shape of the fruit. Now this one, the GumGum, is just an easy one to start off with, because it's just a circle really, and then you just build up more on it. So the first part of each video in the 4 following videos will have the same start, which is the first about 8 minutes or so. And within those 8 minutes, you can try and guess what other devil fruits I'll be making. Comment below what you think they are, just on these basic shapes. Now onto the paper mache section. So there are a couple of things that I will be using in this first section. So it's mostly paper and then paper mache. So I use magazines that I get for free from the post, or sometimes my boys will get the magazines from shops and shopping, and to say what they're going to sell and stuff. They come free from most of the time, and they'll read them up. Now instead of binning them, I just build them up, and I save it for projects like this. So you kind of just rip the pages up, screw them into the basic shape. For instance, a ball in this instance, and then add paper mache. Now, to make paper mache, there are loads of other videos to explaining how to make it, because I did watch them, but I'll explain here what I found. So basically, you use 1 cup of plain flour and 1 cup of warm water, and you stir these two together until it looks nice and smooth. Now, if you want more than that, then add the same amount of flour as you use the same amount of water. So 1 equals 1, 2 equals 2. It's the same anyway. So from these magazines, I cut up them into small squares. This way I'm able to manipulate them easier into place. I personally found it easier to use my fingers to add a thin layer of the paper mache in the area that I'm working on, and then add the smaller squares smaller squares of paper on that section. Now after that, I start to add pieces of paper that are coated in the mixture in that area. Now to do this, you could just grab a small piece of the paper, dip it into the paper mache, and then wipe the excess mixture of the paint on that's already on the paper between your fingers. Then you just place it on the shape, and then you just continue to do this until there's like a nice thin layer of paper mache and all around the shape, and then just so it's nice and smooth. Now obviously, I'm not gonna lie, this is messy, so don't be afraid to get your hands dirty, because you're going to. There's no thing about that. Just make sure to wash your hands after trying to do something, because like I said, it's sticky and it gets on everything. Also, I would advise to place something down where you're working, as you can, because it gets really drippy and it gets everywhere. So I bought these mat things from Amazon, and they are like a pack of 3. You get like a black, clear and white one, I think, and basically it does what it says. It's like this silicone kind of matty thing that you can use for any kind of messy art project. I use it for painting as well. Sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I'm too lazy to get them, or I forget, but they are really, really handy, especially if you've got kids and you're like, I don't want to get it on the table. You have to use this. So I will put that in the product list over on my Linktree if you want to check that out. So after I finished with all of the paper maches, I let them dry overnight. So they should be done the next day, and you don't need to add any more paper mache or paper anymore like that. It's because you just need just a nice thin shell, so it's nice and smooth, and then you can move on to the next part. Now, have you guessed what I'll be doing for the other devil fruits? One of them might be really easy because of the shape, whereas the others might be a little bit hard, so I'll be impressed if you actually guess them all. And then the next step, after we've waited an entire day, so the next day, it involves thin wire and Daz clay. So this was a little tricky and fiddly, but I got there. So you have to like wrap the wire around the shape first, and then use the excess on top. Get the excess on top and like twirl it around so it's all together in a bunch. So the excess on top, if you get me, will make the stem of the devil fruit. So then when you've made the crisscross around the entire shape, and then you're making the stem, then you add more wire around the stem. So you're creating more of a shape, and it seems more sturdier than just like just like one flimsy little bit of wire. As you can see, I'm wrapping it around and just making sure it's a nice decent shape, so you can really see the at least the beginning shape of where I'm coming from. Yeah. Then after that, you just turn it around, admire your work, check that it's all sorted in every angle, everything's in place. Now while I'm doing that, one of my little brothers, Caden, is talking to me about it, and I'm explaining what I'm doing and what anime it's from, and they always like to guess what anime I'm reading and watching or drawing and stuff. And they actually named quite a few, so I'm quite proud of them to be like, I can't believe you actually listened to me. That's really nice. So after that, you get some Daz clay, rolled it out so it's nice and thin. Now you don't want it too thick, because you will be adding more Daz clay, so it has the right textures, if that's the right word. It's like, for example, it's the swirls on the GumGum fruit. And as you can see, this is so thin, so be careful not to rip it when picking it up. I did do this, so I did have to roll out a couple more times. But then when you have two like pieces rolled out, just, you know, put it onto the dad's clay. Now I have the white clay, but I don't I but I don't and have not used the brown clay. So honestly, I don't know which one's better because I haven't used the brown clay, but I'm pretty sure you can use both clays because they both work exactly the same. My only issue is with that one is how would it be painting on top? Like I know with the white one, because it's a nice white back canvas, it might be the colors might be affected differently, but to be honest, I've never used it, so I don't know if that's if it does affect it. So comment below if like brown clay when you paint on it affects the paint colors, because that'd be nice. Because most of the time when I go to the works where I go, they only have the white clay, so I've never really used the brown clay. So yeah, I've said clay so often. I add the dad's clay to the stem. This is probably the hardest bit because it was so delicate. So trying to make it smooth and, you know, so the wire wasn't showing. It was just trying to get it around the swirly bit was just so tricky. But then in the end I got there and I've sped it up so it doesn't you don't see that it's took so long, but it was probably the longest bit to do. Just worrying about the stem in all of the places, making sure that the wire itself wasn't showing. And I'll also show the tools somewhere because these tools were great to use. They helped it out a lot to make sure that the devil fruit in general is just smooth all over. Now we're on to the pattern of the devil fruit. So making the pattern of the GumGum fruit. So this is a really nice, easy, simple one. I loved doing this one because it was so repetitive. So step one, make cubes or circles. So I found it easy to get like a knife or something and just chop the dad's clay up so it each had a cube near-ish about the same size, and then roll it up so it looks like a worm. Like we've all done this as kids with Play-Doh and stuff. This did remind me of my childhood. A little memory of my childhood of mine was growing up. So I used to go shopping with my gran on like really nice days out. We'd go with her and her friends and we'd roll the trolleys and stuff. And we'd go shopping and there was Play-Doh at Walworths, and our mum was like, "You're not allowed clay," but Grans overrides mums all the time, and she was like, "Shh, we just bought you this, it's fine." So my mum wasn't happy, but my gran's like, well, they can have it. But it didn't last long. I'm pretty sure my mum binned it silently over the next couple of days because I don't remember it at all after that one day. So yeah, going back to my this worm like things. So I personally like these worm like things to be different shapes. So the swirls were different sizes and shapes and stuff like that, and had different lengths, because when there was different lengths they just turned out a little bit better. So basically after you have this worm-like shape, you get to the both opposite ends and you swirl them so it makes an S-like shape, and you just keep on swirling it until it's a nice to the tenor. So there's two swirls on each side, and like I said, I really did like it better when there was all different sizes. And do it so it's flat on the table, so it's flat, not like it's wibbly wobbly and everything's a mess, you know. And it's not a mess, but the table really helps me out to be able to make a nice decent swirl and then be able to place it on the devil fruit. Another tip so there's timing wise, I would suggest to make them all in the same sitting. So at first I was making a swirl then putting it on, making a swirl then putting it on. However, that one's a bit harder. It's a lot messier to deal with. So I personally found it a lot easier to make maybe about 5 to 10 different swirls, and then place them 5 to 10 different swirls onto the devil fruit, because at least then you're able to mess with all 5 in one sitting, then go back and forth, because after a while you're using water obviously to re-wet the swirls and make the shapes and stick it on. And because of that, I found that they get a little bit like some of them would get cracky, some of them would lose their texture, and I'd have to go back in and make the swirl again. So I found it easier to make a group and then put them down. So another good thing for this is water. So I just use normal tap water for this. So with just having a cup of water right next to you, you're able to stick the swirl to the base of the shape, and it makes the clay easier to move around. And obviously you have to be really delicate holding this devil fruit, because if you're holding it, you might be able, your fingers could press on the swirls, and then you're flattening the swirls that you've already put on. It's really weird holding this, because you have to hold it without actually holding it. And as you're just going around the swirl, you have to be careful just in general with it. And I know it sounds weird. I don't know if I'm trying to explain it right, but yeah, so you have to be very careful with it so you don't thingy the swirls, flatten the swirls. But another good tip, if you do flatten the swirls by mistake, is you use one of your tools, which basically is like a pencil. It has like a sharp end to it, in a sense, like a pencil, without being able to sharpen it. It's silicone a little bit, and basically all you need to do is define it by just going into it and drawing where the swirl is and defining it, going back and forth between the water and the swirl. And I also use a sponge as well to kind of, if I've got any excess products that's obviously come off with from the clay onto the tool, I just use that to put it on there. And basically this is really nice and repetitive. It's back and forth, back and forth. So I'll shut up while you just look at this, and maybe have some music before we get on to painting and making the colour.
Soundstripe. 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 Soundstripe.
Colour of the GumGum fruit. So this is a purple colour. Now to make purple you use red and blue, so that's to create like a deep purple colour, as you can see, and then add a little bit of white to lighten it up. Another tip is to use like these little tabby things. I got them from Amazon, like a pack of 50. This way I don't waste any paint. Because obviously it does dry up a lot easier, and this way I can able to reuse the colour or the exact same colour I want to without trying to remake it all the time. And these are the things, so every time I make a new colour I add a little bit in there and then I carry on, and also if I'm finished with the colour I add it in them tabby things, so I'm not wasting paint, because I used to waste paint all the time before I got these, and I don't like to waste stuff. I hate to waste stuff. So yeah, and because of the GumGum fruit, it's a purple colour, but it's not like a dark purple. It's got some white in it, so try to lighten it up. Obviously look at the reference image. You'll know what colour to make it, I hope. Now when this Des clay is dry, I let it dry overnight, and as you can say, and you can tell if it's dry. So number one is because it's bright white, there's no patches of off-white or off-grey colour, and number two, you can actually feel that it's pretty solid. So if it was a little bit too, if it wasn't solid, or if you couldn't tell, you can actually feel if it's spongy or not. Like, this is pretty solid, so that's how I know that it's done. And at first I was pretty apprehensive about painting it, but I just didn't want to ruin it, but then I thought, nah, I have to paint it, I have to get there. So I just took the jump, leaped into it and started painting the purple colour, and I just painted that everywhere, especially into the little spaces of the swirls. That's pretty hard to get to, and I did one coat all over and then let that dry overnight. Then I did and then another coat of purple, because as you can see, just the one layer, it leaves these patches of just not all, it's not all one set color. So yeah, so just having one layer, you need to add another layer, because this is overnight. So overnight, the next day, I'm realizing this, and I'm like, this is patchy. So I add another purple, or a layer of purple all over, and it's pretty much done, or at least that base layer is pretty much done. Then you move on to the stem after making sure that you have all of the little places of the actual fruit done. Now I used two different brushes. I used like a really nice decent brush, well, I say decent, medium-sized brush, so it gets everywhere, and then I used a tiny brush to get into the swirls and circles inside, because there is a lot of like nuts and crannies in there that you don't expect, and I didn't expect until I was looking around it all, and I was like, wow, really, in there? So I had to use like little brushes every now and again. Going on, sorry, side note, then you go on to the stem. Now the stem is just like a really deep dark green color, so you just paint that on there, just making sure that you don't miss anywhere of that. You kind of have to swirl it round to make sure that you've got the underside, the swirls, around the swirl and stuff, like getting that everywhere. There was just, I didn't think painting the stem would have been that hard, but it was pretty fiddly. So yeah, and then just make sure that you don't paint the green on the purple bit. You kind of have to make sure that the green doesn't go onto the purples. It's tricky, but you get there. You'll be fine. And I'm saying you'll be fine mostly to me. I always have to keep on saying to myself, I'll be fine. You'll be great. You've got this. If you think that you haven't got this, you've got this. Just keep on saying to yourself, you've got this. That's all you need to know. Now, going back to the purple colour, when looking at it and, looking at the reference image, I saw that my devil fruit was a little too dark. So I got the purple that I used and added some more white, and I added a little bit of silver in there to lighten it up. And it gives it a nice shine. Now, when I first put it on there, I was like, oops, I thought I messed up here. But when you carried on and you just had a nice thin layer, a nice light layer all over, and then you let it dry overnight, it actually looks really good. Like, I was great finding this out, and I saw this, and the next day I was happy, and I'm so happy that I lightened up the actual color of the devil fruit that I decided to lighten up the stem too. So the stem is lighter with the devil fruit, so it's not too dark. You could probably see it in the camera. It is a lighter green. So this is my attempt to not spoil you about the other devil fruits, because I had them there so you can see them. You might see a couple of them poking through, but yeah, if you know, comment below like I said earlier. Now, after painting this, let it dry. As I said before, most of the time you can let it dry overnight, and it'll be dry, and we are on to the last stage, which is to seal it with Mod Podge. Now, when using Mod Podge, I normally use it on my diamond paintings, which is a good tip to do if you do diamond paintings, to seal it to make sure that no diamonds pop off and it's just sealed all together. Now, I use the gloss so it still shines when it's finished. So when doing this, I did this the first time I did this fast, and it caused air bubbles to be in the fruit, so then I had to repaint it again with the purple color. So I'm glad that I had backups to repaint it again over the bubbles, and then put another layer of Mod Podge on top, but going slower this time to make sure that there was no air bubbles. Finished. I hope that you like it. I absolutely love it. So what do you think? Are you going to try and make one yourself? Also, go check out my Patreon, because I will be doing some more devil fruits over there, so you might see your favorite one over on my Patreon, where I do more art and anime content. Like, comment and subscribe to my channel. I hope that you have an amazing day filled with creativity. Bye!